Spurs up, Carolina fans. This is Phil Harris again here, coming to you from the Gamecock Rugby YouTube channel. This is, of course, the Ruckin Roosters Show. Today, I've got a very special guest. He goes by Jay Monrad. He is an alumni of the University of South Carolina, just like myself, played rugby there just like myself. Jay, how the hell are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, man. Let's start out from the very beginning in terms of where you're from.
I'm from New Jersey originally.
Okay.
And I'm still living in New Jersey.
Very nice. I've been to Atlantic City many, many times. Anywhere close to there?
No, I'm not. I'm northern New Jersey. I'm about 30 minutes outside of New York.
All right, very nice. Tell us your origin story with rugby. How did you find rugby?
So when I was looking at colleges, there were two that I went to, the Merchant Marine Academy, because my uncle went there, and we went to a football game, and outside of the stadium, there was a rugby game playing, and I forgot about the football game, went and watched rugby, and then a friend of mine took me up to Kutztown to visit, and I saw a rugby game there, and that's where I was like, I gotta play. So
yeah, Kutztown has a very proud tradition of having a very good rugby team. So.
Oh no, Kutztown's amazing.
Yes, yes. What position did you play?
Mainly, I played second row and back row. So mainly number 4, number 8.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was number 4 myself. Played a little prop as well on the B team. I was pretty slow in terms of pace, so they put me in prop every once in a while. Why did you choose the University of South Carolina? Obviously not an in-state guy from New Jersey. What appealed to you?
That's actually a pretty funny story, and I don't know if we could say it on the whole thing on here, but so I originally went to New Hampshire College in Manchester, which is now the University of Southern New Hampshire.
Yeah,
I was a business major there. One day I was coming back from class and they hadn't shoveled after a big snowstorm. I wiped out, fell down the stairs, and said, "You know what? I'm going south, where there is no snow."
Okay.
And so I applied to, don't shoot me, but I applied to Clemson. Didn't even go visit it. So, and I applied to a couple other Southern schools, but the first school I went to was University of South Carolina. And I automatically, like everybody else, just fell in love with the city,
right?
Fell in love with the campus and the football and everything else. So.
What's weird is after I graduated, I've been up in New Hampshire for 11 years now. I actually live in Manchester. So I'm very familiar with Southern New Hampshire University. Yeah, it's just right down the road here, of course. But that's an interesting story, man. I didn't know that. That's a very cool connection that you have to New Hampshire. And, that's where I live now. I love it here.
There's another old boy who lives up by you.
Oh, no kidding.
Josh Jacobs.
Okay.
He's in Hanover, New Hampshire.
Yeah, not too far away.
Over by the ocean, I think. He's closer to the ocean.
Gotcha.
So yeah, he was my era. He was actually the captain when I was playing.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Northerners.
How about that? But yeah, I understand how somebody would get sick of the snow and be like, you know what, it's time for me to go.
Well, falling down the stairs didn't help.
Yeah,
I wiped out. My trapper keeper filled with documents, went all over the place. So it wasn't fun.
Wow, that's crazy. So that pivotal moment right there brought you to Carolina and playing rugby at Carolina. That's awesome. What was your major? What have you been up to since graduation?
So I was a criminal justice major, and I graduated with a lot of credits in business, not necessarily a minor, but as a criminal justice major. Graduated in 1993.
Okay.
So I was there. I was at Carolina playing rugby between 91 and 93.
So did you run into John Roberts during that time? Was he
I know John Roberts as an old boy.
Okay.
Here's a whole nother. You could do an entire another podcast on what's called the D10. I'm sure you've heard of it, and those who are listening have heard of it. I know John Roberts from being in the D10.
Okay, the infamous D10 as well. You guys
are notorious. I don't know.
Yeah,
a little bit of both.
Right. So what have you been up to since graduation?
I'm sorry?
What have you been up to since graduating from Carolina?
So I moved back to New Jersey in 94 after working for Hunt Construction for a little bit. You know Howard Hunt?
I don't know.
Howard was our rugby coach for a while.
Okay.
And he had a construction business. So me and a couple other guys used to work for him. I came back up here and I went to the Morris County Police Academy in 1995.
Okay.
And I've been a cop ever since.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
right now I'm a captain of a special operations division.
That's awesome. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Putting that degree to work, huh?
Yeah. So
very good. So obviously, you see Sea Pappy over my shoulder here.
I do.
This theme of this episodes or these upcoming episodes is going to be about the origins of Sea Pappy. So to the best of your recollection, what is Sea Pappy and what is his origin story?
Sea Pappy, I think Chris Murphy, who our sergeant at arms, it was probably has the best recollection of the obtaining of Sea Pappy. But Sea Pappy, I'll put it this way, because I still do what I do.
Right.
Sea Pappy joined our team.
Okay.
One day, a group was walking down Green Street, and Sea Pappy decided to join the team. He had to be carried, and he's heavy. The original Sea Pappy is very heavy, and then he after that he made it to pretty much most games and every party. Actually, Sea Pappy lived with me for in 92 and 93.
Yeah.
We had a house on Rosewood all the way down close to Midlands Tech in 92, and then in 93 we lived in Singley over by the nursing school on Green Street there.
Yep.
And he lived with us. He originally, now I don't know if you've seen them, but Wyatt Shepherd had mini Sea Pappies made. And
Okay.
so I brought mine. That's the mini Sea Pappy.
Oh, okay.
See him.
Very nice.
This is the true to form old school pap.
Right.
And so he originally looked like this, except this part here was a yellow, like a yellow slicker, like a sea captain.
Right.
It eventually became a rugby jersey, and the lower part became a pair of rugby shorts. He was perfect. He was meant to be a rugby player. All of my best times at Carolina involved Sea Pappy. Again, like I said, he made it to every party, most games, even away games. His jersey changed over the years. The one that you have in the picture that you have up there is the old boys jersey.
Okay.
He's worn the old school white and red stripe one. He's had a black jersey, and he has he's either a full-blown alcoholic or has an inner ear infection, because he tends to fall over a lot. I could tell you one story. We played the Carolina football played East Carolina State, or no, ECU, East Carolina University.
Yep.
And we were at I don't know if it was there when you were there, but Tally Ho. It's a tailgating spot down near the fairgrounds.
Okay. Yep.
It was called Tally Ho. There's a little shitty bar there, and there's a parking lot there. And Sea Pappy was at the party, and a guy, Todd Lacey, unprovoked. He was our captain at the time, Captain Todd Lacey. He got into an altercation with an ECU fan walking around waving the flag. And so Sea Pappy is standing there, minding his own business as he does. And the ECU guy kind of shoves Todd Lacey. And I don't know if you've ever met Todd Lacey, but his son currently plays for the team.
Yes.
So he's a legacy. So he shoves Todd Lacey. Todd Lacey shoves him. This kid goes flying back, and we used to keep garbage cans filled with beer and ice. And this kid goes flying back. He hits Sea Pappy, lands in this tub of beer, smashes it, goes all over the place. Sea Pappy falls over and breaks a girl's ankle.
Oh no.
Yeah. Funny for us, not funny really for her. I mean,
Right.
She was all right.
Yeah.
But Yeah, he's got a sordid past, and he's got definitely a history of falling down.
Yep.
He fell down in my apartment, broke my TV set. So
How the original Sea Pappy, how just estimate how much do you think he would have weighed back then?
I was 250.
250? Okay.
Yeah, at least. And I mean, we had to put him everywhere he went. He went in a truck, and he was a big guy. I mean, he wasn't tall. He wasn't. I mean, he came up probably about to my shoulder, but very very heavy. See the Sea Pappy you have pictured, actually, that's because he took a baseball bat to the face by somebody. See, he got abused. Like every time people got really really drunk, they'd hit him in some way, which was foolish.
Always getting in scraps, old Sea Pappy. See, he wasn't around in my day in 06-ish.
What was it in 06? Okay, so I remember. So I went mostly between 90. I missed a few here and there, but between 93 and probably 06, I went pretty frequently, and but we went to the CRCs, and as a group, the D10 went to the CRCs as a group, and we ran into some of the guys that weren't playing in the stands, and we're like, hey, where's Pat? And they didn't know what we were talking about.
Right. Yeah.
And but we'd seen pictures like on Facebook, of like proof of life that Pap did exist.
Right.
And apparently he went to somebody's place and then just was left there. But there were pictures of him having been shot up. He got shot up at a range. So like I said, he got abused.
Yes. Sure did. Again, like we would hear about, some people would say like whispers about Sea Pappy, but I never saw him in person back in my day.
Oh no.
Yeah, but now he's been resurrected, right? So at the alumni game here in 2021, Carolina Rugby Alumni Weekend, there's a return of Sea Pappy. So he is back. He is now officially the mascot of Carolina Rugby again.
Yeah.
What were your impressions of the new version of Sea Pappy?
No, he looked great. I mean, he looked better than ever. I mean, he definitely got some work done. But yeah, I know Lyle Richards. He brought him back. Was able to resurrect him. It's probably one of my really truly fondest memories. And we were all kind of, D10, we're all kind of disappointed that it kind of went away because any one of us would have taken him in.
Right.
And I mean the original Sea Pappy has been found. He does exist, and he's living the life, but witness protection program, I guess.
Yes. Retired.
He's retired. But Pap, the new Pap looks great. I hope it lasts another 30 years because I've been involved with Carolina for 30 years. So I hope he lasts another 30 years. I hope people respect the tradition,
Me too, man.
and it should go from, it should either go from president to captain, to their houses, the things that Sea Pappy has seen. Amazing.
Yeah. Some of those things that we just cannot talk about here on this show.
It can't be unseen.
I get what you're saying. I was talking to some of the older players on the current team, and they were jazzed up, obviously, about Sea Pappy being unveiled. And they were all like, "We got to bring him to everywhere." And I'm like, "Well, you say that now, but I have fun lugging him around. That's going to be a chore for sure that you might want to have the underclassmen deal with. Keep it at the captain's or the president's house, but have the younger guys, lug him around."
Right. For a time, we would steal them, and and then steal them and then paint them in the old boys jersey. And next year we'd come back and he'd be painted back to the to the original jersey.
Yeah.
It's a great tradition, and I hope it continues because, like I said, he was at every party I was at, and most games.
Yes.
So
that's awesome.
But, I hope. I hope that this new team kind of uses this as kind of a springboard to continue the whole rugby tradition. That's one of the things I've been coaching for a bunch of years. the biggest thing I try to impart on my teams is that the rugby culture, and how important it is. And it's not just drinking beer out of a boot. It's
Right.
it's the camaraderie and everything else.
Yeah.
So I really hope that I know that under John that this team is going to continue that.
Yeah, brotherhood's extremely important in rugby, and also, tradition. We've got a great tradition of Carolina rugby. And this is just one thing that the old boys are, it's kind of cool that we're giving this gift to them of the mascot of Carolina rugby. So hopefully they treasure it and keep it a part of Carolina rugby for many, many years to come. So it's very cool. Let's switch gears here and talk about, your playing time as a Carolina rugby player. What is your most memorable moment in a Carolina jersey?
We went down to, I guess it was considered at the time like the Sweet 16 down in Mobile, Alabama. And we played the University of Alabama. And at halftime, we're losing pretty handily. I don't remember the score, but it was one of those things where it's like we were starting to get defeated. And we had our coach at the time was Jeff Mason. Do you know Jeff?
Yes, he was our
Jeff's
coach.
A bit still remained involved with the team, and Jeff had a halftime speech that we're on the air right now, and I won't give you all the details, but essentially we came back and we beat them, and it was one of those things where it's like you're defeated at halftime, but then 40 minutes later, you're fired up and you're ready to go. And it was a great time. It was a really, it was probably one of the best games we'd ever played in my era.
That's awesome.
So that was one of them. I mean, there's many.
How fitting it that you bring up Alabama, when we just played them as Carolina rugby for alumni weekend and beat them as well. So that's pretty cool. That is one of your most memorable moments in a Carolina rugby jersey. So let me ask you this, as somebody that's, from the North, right above the Mason-Dixon line, what is so special about the University of South Carolina?
Oh, I mean, it too is its own culture. I mean, you go into that city and it revolves around that university, and there's such an energy, and everything, you go to bars, you go to restaurants, everything has to do with Carolina. And it's definitely something that I'm proud of. I could tell you that, for a while there, we had more. I play old boys for Morris Rugby, and I coach for Morris Rugby, and I coach Drew University. And we have every year with New Jersey, Rugby New Jersey, we have a combine and a college fair. And I went 2 years in a row, and I worked at a table with just Carolina stuff. And at the time, Jeff Smoka sent me up some like pamphlets and stuff, and I think there was a video that I played on my computer about them working out at Fort Jackson. And so I don't know if anybody that came to my table and who signed the form ended up coming to Carolina. I recognized there's a current second row there. I forget his name. That's from New Jersey. And he went to one of the private schools here, and I recognized him. I think I met him at the combine. I'm not saying that he's at Carolina because of me.
Right.
Or maybe I will say that. But yeah, no, I'm happy to kind of push people down that way, not just to play rugby, but for the school itself. I mean, game day, college game day. I mean, football game day the place is fantastic. It's fired up. It's great. It was a great school to go to. I miss it. And I know when I finally choose to retire, I'm headed back to Carolina. I don't know if it's going to be Columbia, but it'll be somewhere close. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I miss it too, man. Of course, I always tell people I romanticize the University of South Carolina. There's just something special about, walking through the horseshoe or, being on campus. It's a special, special place.
Yeah. It's historic too. I mean, and and it's, I mean, you can't beat our international business program,
Right.
and a lot of the other programs are second to none. And so yeah, Carolina, it was a good experience for me, but I think it's definitely gotten better. I mean, since I was there, since I went to school there, they had always spoken about, they were going to build the campus out towards the stadium
Yes.
and out towards the river, and they definitely did it. And I mean, when I was there, so everything out by the stadium was warehouses, and now there's rugby fields there.
Yeah.
There's I mean, we played on Sol Blatt, and we practiced on what was the band field at the time, which was Cross Street.
Yes, I know where you're talking about. Yeah, that's where we practiced too. Yep.
Oh, okay. And so we, it's definitely, I'm glad to see that finally Carolina is taking rugby seriously. John is going to do a great job there. John's got a very great history in coaching. And he's an excellent coach. He's an excellent motivator, and he's a good friend. I mean, I could go real quick about D10, how the D10 was named.
That's actually my next question. Just I know that you have this bond with the players that you played with, and the guys are a little bit, older than you. So can you talk about this bond that you have with the players that you played with and that sort of thing? So
in 1993, I graduated in 93, became an old boy in 94. And I had always heard about Murph, John Roberts, Roger LaCroix was still around. Which, I mean, these names probably don't mean anything to you. Lyle was still around, Columbia. But Old Boy, when I went to my first Old Boys, it's just like one of those things where like-minded individuals just click, And so we would get together, this was before, before email, 93, 94, before, everybody had email, definitely before cell phones and smartphones. But we all kind of kept in touch and made sure we made it to Old Boys. And it was for a while there, Old Boys was failing. It was, it wasn't that many people coming. We could barely get a side together. And I think it was Jeff Smoka said it to Howard Hunt. He said, at one of our meetings to try and build it and get it better. And we're there, and we're sitting there and we're drinking, we're having beers, and Smoka says, Old Boys wouldn't even exist if it weren't for those drunken 10 guys over there, and pointed at us. And we all kind of looked, drinking our beer, went, is he talking about us? And then it evolved to the D10, and then now we're the D10. And the D10 isn't just 10 people. It's, sometimes it could be 2 people. We always say where there's 2 of us, there's 10 of us. Right. But it's probably about 14, 15, true rugby people from that era, and that kind of mixes over from the classes of 90, the class of 90 to about 95. And we've been in each other's weddings. We've seen each other's kids be born. Right. We went to each other's bachelor parties. That's awesome. We've been to people's second weddings, third weddings. Yeah. So, but it's a core group of people. I'll tell you, we have a text thread, and now we've caught up to the times. It started out as emails, but our text thread is brutal, and if your feelings get easily hurt, don't be on our text thread, because I mean, the only things that are off limits is current wives and children. Other than that, I mean, I still get made fun of for things that happened, 30 years ago. And we bring up things, but it keeps us all close. Yes. And occasionally feelings do get hurt, and some people kind of step off the thread for a little bit. They still monitor it, but they step off of it for a little bit. Right. But it is by far, I mean, to this day, I still consider them my closest friends. I have friends up here through work and through Morris Rugby, but these guys are awesome. That's awesome. They're a good group.
I think the D10 is a shining example of what brotherhood could be in Carolina rugby after you graduate, right? It's not just when you're playing on the pitch, it's for life. That's what's so important for the guys that are playing, at Carolina right now, or any future, recruit, is you can have friends on Carolina rugby that you can be your friends forever. And the bonds that you make at Carolina with these guys that you play rugby with can last you a lifetime. So
and now that we got a little bit older and it's a little bit easier to see each other, and so there's times we've gone trips to Folly together, and there's 10 of us, sometimes 15, or in 2017, all the guys came up and played for Morris rugby when we played against the old boys. We played against Old Breed Rugby out of Washington. Morris Rugby has a pretty good relationship with Old Breed. And then after that, we went to the USA Ireland game.
Oh, cool.
That was in Harrison, New Jersey. That was kind of the reason why everybody came up. And it was a good time. Like everywhere we go, it's a good time.
Of course, yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So any advice for current players on the team?
Yeah, stay involved, stay in contact.
Perfect.
Don't just, everybody understands that, when you graduate, you have to start a life, right? You got to get married, you got to get a job, you got to start having kids and everything. And everybody understands that. But one thing I tell all rugby players that I know through coaching and everything else is rugby will always be there for you. You can always find a team anywhere you go. And you can always come back too. So, the guys that are playing now are going to, they're going to graduate. They're going to start their new jobs. They may not be able to afford to come back, and that's okay. They may not be able to afford to contribute to the foundation, but just keep in touch and monitor, the websites and everything else, and continue to follow you and everything else, and just get the news. And then when you're ready to come back, but stay involved and get involved and stay involved.
For sure.
It's definitely something you don't want to lose. I mean, there's a guy that I had not seen in probably 25 years at the this guy John Bloom, that I had not seen in probably 25 years. And we were, it was like 30 years ago when we were in college. It was like, we just caught up, and then once we caught up, we were busting each other's chops. So, but it was good to see him. It's good to see other people that I didn't know he was going to be there, but I was happy he was.
Right. Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
And again, like it's some of the old boys. Some of the, like I mentioned Howard Hunt. He was our coach for a little bit. And then Jeff, seeing Jeff and seeing Howard and seeing, Rick LaBelle and Matt Godick,
Right. Yes.
And knowing those guys from when I was playing, and then when I was first an old boy, that was, again, going on, 25 years ago. They were 50 years old. Now they're 75.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I hope I will, if I can, God willing, I'll be there too. In 25 years or whatever.
Right.
So, yeah, it's definitely something, that people need to just hang on to. Sometimes, and their wives are going to say, why are you hanging on to that? It's because I am.
Right. Yeah.
It's because it was an important time in my life. I mean, I played rugby at Carolina for 3 years, and now it's 30 years later, and I'm still involved.
Yeah. So, it's nice to be nostalgic too, right? Like once a year you come down to Carolina. So this was my first alumni weekend ever. And I had a blast, like, all those memories coming back and seeing, Coach Mason, who was my coach at Carolina for the first time in forever. Yeah. It's just so awesome to see all the old boys that still come out from the 70s and, this late 60s. It's just really impressive. So I plan on making this a yearly pilgrimage back to Carolina every single year, because I was just blown away with how awesome it was.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I was right when I graduated. I would go back pretty much. We were back every year up until the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and then it was every now and then it was, all right, I'll go to the 35th, and then I'll go to the 50th, and the one thing is that when we went to the 50th in 2017, it got, we got there and we're like, this wasn't great. We need to rebuild it. So after a couple years of going to Murph's house in Folly Beach, and him talking to people and him getting really involved, and he and John getting very involved, it was able to be rebuilt into this event. This one, for those of you that are watching this, if you missed it, you missed a hell of a time, because it was great from beginning to end. There was something to do. There were people to hang out with, and they were all like-minded, wearing garnet, and it was a good time, and it was impressive. And I owe that to, or we all owe that to the foundation and the board for making it what it was, and John and Murph, in particular.
Yeah.
So, that's making it something that people want to go to is what's going to drive the dollars in.
Yeah. I was telling Coach Roberts, imagine next year if we had double the number of people that come to alumni weekend, how, it was already awesome, right? It was a lot of fun, right. But with, twice the number of people, it's just going to be so much better and so much more fun. So, yeah.
I think the stats is there's a missing generation in there.
Yeah. And that's my generation.
Is that your generation?
So it's 05 to 15, I believe, is what Murph was telling me. It's just, there's not a lot of involvement, unfortunately. And now there's a lot of theories about it, but ultimately, we got to get those guys more involved as much as possible.
Because, really, it's not so much. I mean, yeah, of course, money's good. Money's good to help the program, but it's really just to see people. You get more people involved, and then it becomes contagious, right? And so I think that getting as many people involved and finding that lost era, because there's another era that's lost too, like in the 70s too, or early 80s. Yeah, you definitely have to, find that group and get them back in,
That's the goal for sure.
See, what was good about my year was there was that, that crossover, from the late 80s into the early 90s, and then Howard was part of it too, because Howard was the link to the early 80s. Gotcha. So yeah, and Jeff even further. I think Jeff was a few years before even Howard. So it was definitely good, and we didn't have the technology. We didn't have what you guys have.
Right. Yeah.
In 2006. What 2007 was the iPhone, right? So you guys should have been able to keep in touch, right?
Right.
And it's just sad that it didn't happen, But I mean, now hopefully with everything we have and your show, your podcast, and then the website, and then we're just gonna have to find people's address, and I mean I'll tell you, the two guys that got me into it. There were two guys that I met at the club fair, and when I walked up to the table and put my name on the sheet, was John McShane and Brad Muller. Okay. And neither were able to make it this time for a number of different reasons. Brad in particular works for the university, and he was in South Dakota with the women's basketball team. He does announcing. Okay. But it was, you miss them, right. And they're good guys. I was lucky enough, I was able to see Brad over the summer, but it's, you want to get people involved, and you want to keep people involved. And that's, I think that's John's and Murph's and Balmer's ultimate goal,
for sure.
And Smoka and everybody else,
Yeah. So final question here, Jay. If there's a recruit out there watching or listening to this, what would you say to them about coming to Carolina and playing rugby at Carolina?
That's a good question. I'll tell you this. I owe most of what I have today to rugby, to walking out on that field. I my daughter plays rugby. She's the reason why I started coaching. And she's the reason why I continue to coach. She's now at NC State. She plays there. Well, she took a semester off, but she intends to play next semester. And but she's involved with the team. She goes to the games and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. All my best friends are rugby players. It's what I do pretty much every weekend. So pretty much everything I owe, everything I have, I owe to stepping out on that pitch, I bought a pair of football cleats at Todd and Moore, cut the toe cleat off,
Yeah.
and then started playing, and I haven't stopped. I mean, there was a short time when I too was building my family and building my career. I'd take a year or two off, but then I got right back into it. So yeah, that's what I would tell people, that you can get, you can build your life around rugby. And I mean, I didn't meet my wife through rugby. But she definitely went to all my games, when I was playing for Morris and stuff. So, and went to the parties, and we used to have a boat party on the USS Intrepid in New York City. Wow. And it was an epic party. Some of the D10 went to that too. It's a very social group. You don't have to be the best player in the world. You don't have to be a US Eagle quality.
Right.
Everybody is, everybody's welcome. And I tell the girls that I coach, because I coach the women's team at Drew, rugby is for everybody and everybody. Like you could be big, little, short, whatever, and you're welcome on the team. It's always been the most inclusive sport.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Even back, in the 90s, it's the most, that's the big word now, right? Inclusivity. Mm-hmm. It's been the most inclusive sport forever.
Yep.
So to get back to you, what I would tell people is go out, play rugby, and you will play rugby for the rest of your life, and you'll always have a family. Morris Rugby is my second family. Carolina is my first family, but it's a family.
Nice.
It truly is.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. And rugby is one of those sports where, amazingly enough, like a lot of people become successful when they play rugby, and afterwards, there's a lot of successful people involved in rugby. It's weird because, like, if you endure the punishment on the pitch, there's something to that makes people successful. So I would just add on to that and say, if you've got that network of rugby players, then you can really help yourself out, and advance far with that network behind you, and just your own sense of worth, and just how amazing that you can be. If you're out there playing rugby and getting beat up on, and you still keep coming out over and over again onto the pitch, you've already got that perseverance that people need to be successful, right? So.
And it's not, it's not just you can network too, and it's not just the 15 people on your team; it's the 15 people on the other team, or the 30 people on the other team.
Yes.
We have guys that for the old boys that have become business partners after they played each other, and at the drink up, met each other, realized they did the same thing, and then became business partners. And good friends to boot. Yeah. So. We're tied pretty strong with the local teams, and the old boys are really tied to Old Breed for a variety of different reasons. Mm-hmm. And so it's the brotherhood isn't just the team you're on. It isn't just the jersey or the badge you have on your shirt. Yep. Or your jersey. It's the other teams too. You walk off the field, you could be in a dust up and a punch up on the field, but afterwards you're laughing and having a beer. Yes. Afterwards. And that's not a cliche. That's truth.
That's true.
I've not ever seen anybody walk off the field and be mad at the other guy because he now has a black eye or whatever.
Right.
It's an amazing sport.
Yes.
And I think part of that culture, believe it or not, it built, and what you were saying, to your point with regards to getting beat up on the field, it grows your emotional intelligence too, right?
Yes.
So you're a grown up, you grow up on the field, because if you start getting into it with somebody, one of your teammates is going to be like, no man, it's the field, it happened on the field.
Yep.
Leave it on the field, let's go get a beer or whatever,
Yes.
And so that's what I loved about rugby. It was never like that in any other sport I ever played. I played hockey. I was a decent hockey player. I was a horrible basketball player, but I was a pretty decent hockey player. But basically, you go back to the locker room and you go home.
Yes. Yeah.
And I see lacrosse teams do the same thing. I see baseball teams do the same thing. Rugby doesn't. People, you don't want to leave the pitch at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of sports, claim that they build character, and maybe they do with some people, but rugby really builds character for sure, and it will help you grow up, as you're saying. It definitely will. Emotional intelligence is extremely important. It's all a part of of growing up, and I think you got to fast track. If you play rugby, your emotional intelligence is going to grow very quickly, for sure. But on that note, let's do one word association, and then we'll get you out of here. So I'm going to say one word or two words. The first thing that pops in your mind, just let me know the first thing.
The first thing.
The first thing.
All right.
Tradition.
Oh wow. Carolina.
Yes. Rugby.
Family.
The horseshoe.
Historic.
Yes. Carolina.
Does that have to be one word?
Yes. Preferably.
I can't hold, you can't hold me to that. It's the best decision I ever made.
All right, fair enough.
A decision. I'll say decision.
All right.
It's the best decision I ever made. Was to I falling down the stairs was prompted me to come to the best school I could even imagine.
Very cool. Final one here. Gamecocks.
Go. Go Gamecocks.
Yes, sir. And that's what we like to say when we get out of here. So I'm going to say, I'll just give you a countdown here. We'll just say go Cox. All right.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Go Cox.
Go Cox.
Woo!